AIM Research was set up in 2003. Supported by two of the UK's research councils, the Economic and Social Research Council and the Engineering and Physical Sciences Research Council, AIM was challenged with improving the quality of management research in the UK, as well as increasing its impact on policy and practice. In this short video, we want to ask two questions. First, why would researchers want to ensure their research has impact? And secondly, how do you ensure your research has impact? We'll hear from a variety of researchers at leading institutions at places like Bath, Cambridge, Cranfield, as well as managers from companies like IBM and Rolls-Royce, all of whom have successfully collaborated with industry. And we're asking them to give us their top tips on how you can ensure your research has impact. Let me start by asking the question, why do we want research to have impact? Clearly, researchers want to make a difference to the world. There are significant challenges in society, whether you think about the economic crisis, whether you think about global warming, whether you think about ageing population. There are big questions that need to be answered. And the research community has an important role to play in answering those questions.
There is agreement on how best to go about forming academic-industry collaborations. Learning from others who have engaged in those relationships is a good way to begin. Managing the expectations of others and finding out what needs to be delivered when is key. Representatives from IBM and Rolls-Royce have a few top tips for your success.
My top tips, Steve Street's top tips. I think a crucial thing actually is commitment. Both sides. I mean, I don't see this as a one-way thing, by the way. It has to be balance between the academics and the industrialists, but commitment, simply being there, doing what you say you'll do, turning up for meetings, creating progress reports. Commitment is a key, crucial thing. I think the second thing, that probably sounds a bit vague, engagement. We don't live in the same worlds, and we need to engage with each other's worlds and understand each other. There has to be balance. If an industrialist wants something immediate, meet his profit targets, the relationship's in trouble already, and vice versa. If an academic wants something that will simply fund their next piece of research, that's not a good basis. There needs to be engagement between the two. Third tip, actually, I think be aware of, well, this is three to four tips in some ways. Be aware of your strengths and weaknesses. Academia, you have time to think, actually. That's one of the crucial factors. Industrialists, yes, we do have access to real problems and real data. And we need to be open to what the unique contribution that academics can make. Oh, and be prepared to take a degree of risk. I think that's actually crucial on both sides.
Andy's three top tips. Number one, if you want to work with an industrial partner, be absolutely clear about what it is they need out of the relationship. In particular, who is the person whose life you're going to make better. Ideally, name the individual. That way you can go and understand exactly what they as an individual do in their job, what their frustrations are, and how you can make their life better. The more you can nail down the recipient of the benefit, the easier it is to be clear about what's the right thing and the wrong thing to do. Then try as much as you can to nail down the deliverables. So what is it that will release that benefit? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What form does it have to be in to be usable? Because quite often, when we get a piece of software, for instance, if that's the deliverable from a piece of research, that's only one part of the puzzle. The next question is, how do we use it? How do we train people in it? How is it going to be supportable long term? Is the software built on tool sets that we can commercially get licenses for at a reasonable cost? Or is it some bespoke piece of software that we now got to try and find somebody to support? So, being very, very clear about what the value-adding deliverables are is ideal. And then third top tip would be flexible on the route there. Providing you've nailed down where it is you're going, the route you take to get there really isn't that important. You might just as well replan on a monthly basis. So you do need lots of contact time between the kind of the customer and the research team who are delivering it, constantly checking, saying, you know, this is where we've got to, is that still headed in the direction that we've all agreed we want to head to? So don't get lost in the steps of the journey. Always keep your eye on that distance horizon of where you've all decided you want to get to.
Neil's top tips are to understand what will allow me as an industrial partner to contribute to your programme. So give me things that add value to IBM, brand recognition or a technology which I can apply. Have a plan. Interim deliverables are very important as part of that plan, and then stick to that plan. So that's what I would say my top tips are.
Academics have top tips of their own. These can help other academic institutions pursue a route to successful industry collaborations in the future. Remember, that route might not always be a linear one.
Paul's top tips, I think, would be certainly to be very clear about what you want from the relationship and what the joint value is going to be from the relationship, and to be really transparent about that. I think a top tip would be not to rush into things too much. I think one of the tendencies with government funding initiatives for research is that the timelines are probably too tight to allow effective engagement of industry before the grant starts. So start work on your partnerships early and then identify how you're going to fund those with grant aid.
John's top tips include location, I think, is important. So the movement, most technology transfer, knowledge transfer happens on legs. So find time to spend that time in each other's environment. So whether it's the academic partners visiting and spending time with the industry partner, or even the other way around, it's more often than not the former, but I think having industry come and spend time in the university is also important. But I think that actual, time in a different environment is a really important factor in this. And my experience of seeing that happen in projects is that it's nearly always positive. Whereas if you just try and abstract a problem and work on it independently in your own environment, I don't think you're likely to have the same impact.
Nigel's top tips would be get the highest quality industrialists you can possibly get, who are committed to staying on the project for the length of the project. Those industrialists must be well embedded in their organisation and experienced professionals. Avoid recent masters, graduates, etc. And finally, give the industrialists some kind of structure, something that they can relate to from their own work and go back to and talk to their own bosses about this is how we're working with the academics, and avoid it being just a talking shop is the normal criticism of academics. So those would be my 3 top tips.
Jamie's top tip would be ensuring you have a clarity around your sense of purpose that's agreed amongst everyone who's in that collaboration, that partnership, at the very, very start. And that might be an arduous process, but getting that clarity of that sense of purpose, what are we here for, is key number 1. Yes. Number 2 is the relationship piece. So how do we do that? It's not just on phone calls or teletext or whatever. It is actually physically meeting, I think, and enjoying time together on more of the social side as well. That engenders a greater collaboration or chance to collaborate. And it's those off conversations you might have in the bar at night actually add real value to that collaboration going on. And number 3 is to put some rigour in terms of reviewing yourselves, being open to review, and particularly in the industry/academic piece is good quality peer review amongst all. Put some rigour behind your thinking.
So if you begin by knowing what you want from the outset, ensure your plans benefit all those involved, continue to network, the likelihood is you can create that win-win project.
So Andy's top tips for collaborating with industry. The first would be build relationships. You actually have to go out there, network, get to know people. It's no good just cold calling and expecting people to respond to your survey. You need to start to build quite deep relationships with organisations. The second top tip is to manage expectations, to be clear about what you can and cannot deliver, and be realistic. Nobody expects you to deliver the earth, so just be honest about what's feasible. And the third top tip is to think about and make sure you do deliver on your commitments. So once you've promised, the thing that upsets industry more than anything else is when you fail to meet your commitments or your promises. So effectively, make sure you deliver what you promise.
AIM Practice has that expertise that can help you succeed and get the best out of your organisation.
As well as AIM Research, we've also launched AIM Practice, Applied Innovations in Management. AIM Practice is all about taking the research outputs, converting them into practical tools and techniques that you can use to improve the performance of your business. If you'd like to learn more about AIM Practice, please visit the website www.aimpractice.com.